Welcome to Sacred Stories Podcast, a place to explore and discuss new and exciting books of consciousness. I am your host, Reverend Patricia Caginello, and speaking with authors that have shared their wisdom and stories through their books is one of my favorite things to do. Today we are speaking with Deborah Beauvais, a contributing author to our new book of inspiring stories, Chaos to Clarity, Sacred Stories of Transformational Change. And Deborah is founder and owner of the syndicated Dreamvisions 7's radio network, hosts her own show, Loved by Intuition, as well as Empowered Connections. Deborah is a mentor, the founder of Kids for Love Project and Kids for Love Project radio show, which celebrates kids who make a difference. She's a Reconnective healer and a practitioner, and Deborah is publishing her first children's book, The Paper Doll Kids, co-written with Janine Sullivan. So welcome, Deborah Beauvais, to Sacred Stories.
Thank you for having me, Patricia. Really excited to spend this time with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm excited to have you on as well. You know, your story that you wrote, and thank you for sharing your story with us in our book, Chaos to Clarity. It really is one of those stories that I believe will help so many people, Deborah, will resonate with so many people because of the journey that you went through. And you titled it Soul Story, which I think is pretty telling. So, and it's about, just to give a little preview, the loss of your husband, but your life afterwards as well, which I think is really powerful. So if you would, could you tell the sacred story that you wrote for Chaos to Clarity?
Yes. Well, I wanted to share, what happens when someone very close to you transitions or dies, passes. I like to use the word transition or goes to the other side, because I feel now, after experiencing everything and becoming spiritually conscious, I know that we are all eternal beings. We are here experiencing being a human and all that comes under that umbrella. But it was a most devastating, was the most devastating experience to have someone that you love so dearly, that's your mentor, your friend. Rick was an excellent father, loved books, and got my 3 daughters involved with reading. And when the reason that we had such an amazing relationship and so connected was that I was married previously for a couple of years, and it was a violent marriage. So to come away from that and have this amazing person, it was just pure devastation when he was killed in an accident. So for myself, I can only speak to my own experience that, there were times where I couldn't breathe, and every inch of skin on my body ached, and it was so painful. But what kept me here on the earth were my 3 girls. I had thought about ending my life. I thought about it a lot that first year and into the second year, because for those that have experienced losing someone very close, the second year is actually more difficult. But I did not want to leave the girls and have them experience both parents. So I stayed, and I had an inner strength always, ever since I was a child. So I really called upon that strength, even though I was wallowing in pain and, the separation of not being with the person, and then thrown into being a single mom. So it was, to say it was overwhelming is an understatement.
I really appreciate that you shared that you had considered taking your own life, that you exiting, this lifetime a little early. because I believe that that's something that people really feel. And
Yeah.
and there's, to get to that point, I would imagine is very scary for you as well, and as for your daughters. I'm sure your daughters were tuned in, maybe not to the extent that you might have been considering it. They were tuned into the despair you were feeling, as well as their own.
Mhm.
So was it all for your daughters? Like, where did you find the strength to make a different decision? I think that's a really important question to ask, because of the current day and so many people struggling.
Mm. Well, again, I knew that I had inner strength ever since I was little, but I wasn't conscious of it in a sense. I just knew or felt it, and just getting up and putting one foot before the other. And there's so much to be done. I think even though you're in despair and pain, you need to identify a job that will supply the household. You need to be that single mom, as mentioned. There's all kinds of things that are needed in a home that maybe you don't have all the answers, because with a partner, you're kind of dividing the responsibilities or the things that need to be done. So you're really thrown into a whirlwind of responsibility, and it's quite overwhelming. But somehow I believe that in all of us, we have the power within. And if you can tune into that, you can survive and you can thrive. And one of the things that happened with me, and again, I don't know, I just know what happened with me, is early on, like 6 months in, even though I was a mess, I had this strong desire to help people. And it was overwhelming. It was that I had to do something, because it just kept calling on me. And when we think about helping or serving others, we're doing that and we're filling ourselves up with love. And so that I was drawn to that, and actually ended up for 5.5 years volunteering for a shelter for domestic women and children, which was the catalyst for healing the journey through domestic violence, that first marriage. And there's always experiences that weave in, and they're not by happenstance. They're there specifically for us to learn and grow our souls, really.
That is something that is so beautiful in your story, is that through your tragedy, you actually looked to help others. And what's really inspiring to me, and actually to my co-author, Kathleen Cannabis, we talked about this, is that throughout the book, that is such a common theme that we're finding, that so many of the stories, when people were even really at their lowest, what helped them or brought them out, or they chose to do in order to help themselves, is help others as well. And it's really powerful, Deborah, that response.
Yeah, it is. It's and I think everybody has the ability to do that. I think it's important to be with your loss and your tragedy. I think we have to be with that and go through the different stages. It is not healthy to stuff it somewhere else, because it'll pop back years later or prior to that. But you can survive and thrive, and you do choose to live as you go along, and then you want to do something that holds value to other people.
You do choose to live. I really like that. I like that a lot. And
Mm.
I appreciate, you mentioning that there are stages and that you do need to go through them. There really is no skipping. It's interesting. My loss was a divorce, and I remember someone telling me, my cousin who had been divorced, saying, "You're going to go through the stages of grief." And I said, "No, I think I'm okay."
Yeah.
I think I'll be okay. I don't think I'm going to go through the stages of grief. And he's like, "Okay, well, you're going to." And I did. And I did. And as much as I didn't want to, as much as I wanted to just kind of pretend everything was okay or skip through things, I couldn't. I couldn't. You really do, I believe, need to go through, to embrace every stage, like you said, as difficult as it may be.
Mm. Right. And it might take a long time. It really depends. So there isn't any perfect scenario of or a list where you follow it. You just follow your heart and nurture yourself along the way, even though you may be facing so many other responsibilities and details that you weren't before.
Yeah, you'll go at your own pace. So, Deborah, what would you like to say to others that are listening, that are experiencing loss of, whether it's a spouse or other another type of loss, and feeling
Hmm.
the
I
despair?
Yes, I think it's important to ask for help, and that is something that many women struggle with. And because we can do all things. So
Mhm.
asking for help and not feeling that you're not enough because you are asking for help, that was a big one for me. And knowing that you are never alone. We are always supported by a higher intelligence. I truly believe and know that. And there's signs along the way to prove it. Each one of us will experience that. So to trust in the process, trust in the higher intelligence, and then self-love. It is so important to thrive. Anyone, any person, whether they've faced any kind of tragedy or not, to learn to go within and self-discover. It's self-discovery of who you are and embracing who you are. We all want to do better. We want to be a better version, but loving ourselves just as we are. When you love yourself, that's what really fuels that power to continue. And the only other thing that I'd say with the time is gratitude. Once you have gone through something, horrendous, you're not able to say it at that time, but years later, you see the gratitude in being with the person and having what I had 17 years. I would trade that 17 years for another day. However, I had gratitude for it's a gift to be with Rick for those 17 years. Gratitude for your home, gratitude for the small things, gratitude for the beautiful children you have. There's so much to be in gratitude for. And when you resonate in that energy, more wonderful, good things will happen for you.
Mm. I agree that at some point you'll find the gift, and again, you would trade it all for another day. And I think the line, and I don't want people to misconstrue when we say there's a gift that will be coming, or the gratitude for what you had. It doesn't diminish or say that you wish things maybe were different or had happened differently, right? I mean, that's not what we're saying, but what you're saying is that there is, when you move forward, you can still find the gifts or the gratitude, with a new perspective or something in there that
Right.
is important, and that truly is the gift born from the adversity or the loss.
Right. Well said. It is. And it's, again, difficult to see that at the beginning. No one will be able to. But as time passes, you'll see and feel the gratitude for having the time that you had.
Mm. And you know what? And Deborah, you have gone on. You have continued and gone on, and you have created an entire radio network that has numerous shows that share so much beautiful, conscious, empowering information for others. And so, you know, you're kind of like the gift that keeps giving and exponentially keeps giving, right? Through the work that you have now done. Share with the audience your radio network and how they can find it, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's actually 12 years old now, and it's a Boston-based syndicated internet radio station with all the bells and whistles, as I say. One can listen online, one can listen with all the mobile devices, as well as in the car with CarPlay and Bluetooth. So it doesn't matter what country you're in, what state, what city, you can listen to Dreamvisions 7. And the site is Dreamvisions, all one word with an S on the end, the number 7, radio.com. All our shows are under the holistic umbrella. We have sustainable living, something for everyone, but all around, you know, how to find joy, love, how to, you know, utilize different modalities, tools, programs, all the things that people need, and they can pick and choose and find their way to a better life. We all want love. We all yearn for love and yearn for peace and safety and help for our children and families. It's the basics that we really all yearn for. And so that's what the station is all about.
So that is dreamvisions7radio.com, where you will find Deborah's show, Love by Intuition. You'll find the show Kids for Love Project radio show, and a host of other shows on this really wonderful radio network. So Deborah Beauvais, thank you for being our guest today and sharing your story, soul story, in our new book, Chaos to Clarity, Sacred Stories of Transformational Change, which is available for everyone through Amazon and booksellers worldwide or direct through Sacred Stories Publishing.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It's really been a wonderful conversation. And thank you to our audience for listening to the Sacred Stories podcast. I am your host, Reverend Patricia Caginello. And until next time, I encourage you, as always, to write your sacred story well.